Did you know that some of our past experiences could be affecting our health right now? I didn't until really recently, and so I wanted to share this information with you because there are three lenses that could affect our hormonal health from our past experience. And I wanted to share a little bit of what I've learned about how we can start to step out of some of those lenses that aren't helping our hormonal health be supported. Okay, so I do want to share that we'll be talking about some difficult topics. So if you feel the need to pause this video, feel free to come back when you're at a better time or mental space where you can be able to listen to this. So the first topic that we're going to be talking about is traumatic sexual experiences. And these could make someone less likely to see a gynecologist, have an intimate exam, and or feel as though they don't know how to advocate for themselves in a practitioner's office or their consult with that practitioner. It's really important for a medical professional to know what has gone on in someone's medical history, specifically because certain sexual experiences that are traumatic could affect someone's hormonal health or long-term health. These are all really important and helpful. And so if we don't have the ability, because we're kind of in this frame of mind, that we don't have the comfort level to talk to our practitioner about these things, it can hinder our hormones being properly addressed because our doctor might not know how to get to the root cause of our situation. So next I wanted to talk about how we could have a traumatic medical experience. And this also has a wide range. It could be from having a needle that didn't go in properly, in my experience, which I'll share in a moment, or it could be an accident that you had or a recurrent issue that you had as a kid that really caused some experiences that were unpleasant for you in a hospital or in a doctor's office that made you less likely to want to go see a practitioner or a doctor to start with. So some of these can affect our hormonal health. As again, I shared that we can have a dysregulated stress response, but just simply having a hindrance to going to a doctor can prevent our hormones from being properly addressed and for us getting the help that we need. Another issue that we could have is, as I mentioned, if someone has an accident and they have some recovery, they might be more apt to maybe going to the doctor, but they could not necessarily have as much comfort in their own home after because of recovery with being in a more sterile environment, being concerned about keeping wounds clean and things like that could put someone at risk. And so some of these can shift our focus and our experience as a person to being focused on things that could disrupt our hormones. So not that being hygienic is a bad thing, but also being overly hygienic and overly clean can contribute to us being more exposed to chemical cleaners, being exposed to things that could be disruptive in hygiene products for our hormones as well. And so some of these could be factors. So for me, as an example, I was a child and I ended up getting this really bad stomach flu. I was throwing up. I didn't know at the time I was allergic to Pepto-Bismol, so I would take that medication and then I would also throw up. So I became really dehydrated after over a week of throwing up and not being able to hold things down. Long story short, I ended up in the hospital with the need for IV fluids. And so they had given me these little cream patches for my hands in order to do IVs in them and for them to be painless. However, that numbing cream didn't work properly. So not only did I still feel some of the needles, but on the first try, they missed my vein properly. And so one of my veins ended up collapsing on a needle, and it was really painful for them to pull that needle out. So not only did I feel pain when I was told I wasn't going to be, but I also had a more painful experience than not. And as an adult, this has contributed to me being less likely or less apt to want to have blood work done, to want to donate blood, partly because I know that it can be painful. And I've also had more experiences in my life where my veins have collapsed on needles. And so it can be painful for me. So that, for my experience, has gotten in the way of a little bit of my hormonal health because I wasn't as likely to go in and get a blood test drawn for me to know what my hormones looked like or what certain things looked like that could be affecting my hormones. So this is just one example of how this type of medical experience could affect our hormonal health. So last but not least is traumatic childhood experiences. And this as well can have a wide range, but this in general, whether it is from someone seeing violence or being in a neglectful state, this can affect how open we are to certain experiences and to certain people. So talking with our doctor might be more difficult for people who've experienced childhood trauma. And we also could have a situation where someone has openness, but it could be that they have a dysregulated stress response. And so that in and of itself can affect our hormones. And if we're not open to talking to someone about that disrupted stress response, they might not be able to help us regulate that and bring it back into balance. So all of those things could lead to even further problems outside of hormonal imbalances, like chronic illnesses, when that progresses. So I want to talk to you next about some ways that we can start to move out of these lenses that we might find ourselves in and into a healthier perspective of how we can take ownership of our health, of our hormonal health, and of our bodies. So what is the practical way that we can start to move from these perspectives that are fear-based into a helpful and healthy perspective? So the first thing, all of these experiences often cause people to somewhat disconnect from their body. And this could be in a way where we are more hypersensitive to our body, to certain health effects, but also for us to numb out. It's called dissociation, where we really don't connect with our body fully. And so one of the best ways that we can reconnect with our body is through yoga. So I've talked about the vagus nerve, and I've talked about how breathing can help with stress regulation. Yoga brings connection with both our breath. Our vagus nerve can be calmed through that type of breathing and movement, and it reconnects us with our body with an awareness of our movement. So for me, I really like yoga, but I also really enjoy dance. And this is another way where we can start to step out of our kind of, like I said, hypersensitivity to our body and get into our body, live and feel our body and understand what that movement means, because we might have gotten disconnected from that feeling. This and martial arts are some of the other ways besides yoga that we can start to reconnect and have healthy movement brought in. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is for us to tell someone safe. This could be a friend or a family member that you trust. This could be someone that you meet that has gone through another experience that's similar, that knows how they have worked through that experience. And so it really is part of the healing process to be able to share this and to find language around our experience. This could be a psychologist, this could be a coach, this could be someone who has a similar life experience, like I shared, that they have gone through that and maybe they've worked through that. Not everyone who's had a similar experience to you might be the right person to go to. So I encourage you to find someone that you trust that probably has come to the other side of their experience in a positive light, because that is really one of the things that is a hallmark of someone who's recovered from that and been able to have that experience re-put back into the past. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is finding someone to help you support your recovery. This could be a practitioner, this could be a friend, it could be a family member, but I encourage you to consider who that person could be and how you want them to support your recovery. If you need accountability or if you need a mindset shift, that probably won't be someone who's immediately close to you or has never lived that type of experience that you have, because they won't have an understanding of what that looks like to walk through those steps in order to recover. So keeping that in mind. But we also have the ability as humans to restructure and understand our past experiences in a different frame. And that in and of itself is reconnecting those memories with positive experiences is what can help with moving forward and moving out of some of these disruptive or harmful ways of thinking that might actually not be helping our own health. So I wanted to share as a closing comment that not only is languaging really helpful in defining our experience and saying it out loud to someone else, but for someone to help us rewrite some of what we've experienced in a positive light. Now that might not sound very clear with how I worded it there, but what I mean is being able to talk with someone who has gone through that experience and share it, get it out of our body and then have an experience in a safe environment, having said that, where we can then have that new memory of remembering what we went through and be able to put that into our mental catalog of past events. Our brain has a way that sometimes we have to share that experience with another person in order for us to put that traumatic experience in the past. And until we do that, we might have certain situations, like I said, hormonal imbalances, stress deregulation. And so those things, this could be one of the first steps that someone takes in order to start having that deregulation undone. So like I talked about, movement through yoga, dance, or martial arts, telling someone safe and languaging what our experience is or was, and finding someone who can help support our recovery. These are 3 ways that we can start to move into a different type of hormonal regulation. I really hope that this video was helpful. If you like this video, I would love for you to share with me in the comments that you did, and feel free to reach out if you need any support. I have links in the description of where you can reach out to me so that we can connect. And I really hope until next time that you're able to stay well.